Nightshade Peddler to go along with Angel of Glory's Rise, Huntmaster of the Fells, and 1 Gold Knight Commander for the old Hadouken, as it were, to finish the game off.
So Joe's build is much closer to the combo Reanimator deck that we saw debut in the Japanese Grand Prix about a month ago, correct? And Patrick is much more of a just, these are just my Jund cards, and then I got Staticaster, which is okay against some decks, and combos obviously very well with Peddler. Peddler also nice to pair up with Olivia and Huntmaster of the Fells as well. So there's it's not he's not just all in on Staticaster. There's numerous cards he can pair with to set up some Basilisk Collar, Cunning Spark Mage type of action.
So this will be interesting. I mean, both players trying to basically accomplish the same thing. Patrick's deck list is a little bit more grindy. Joe's a little bit more explosive with what he's trying to accomplish, trying to basically kill you in one shot, the robot. I mean, I don't know if this favors one player either way. I think, obviously sideboard games, we're going to be looking at, graveyard removal, see if Patrick has that sort of thing, because any Reanimator deck in this format, they don't stand up to hate very well, but if there's really no hate running around, the decks are insane. Then.
Yes. Yeah, because a lot of these Reanimator decks aren't just pure, they're not careful study reanimate. They can play a normal game on the ground and then get value out of reanimation spells or set up, fast, huge threats against decks that aren't really well suited to handle them. So you see Patrick lead off with an Overgrown Tomb and Joe fire back with a tapped Temple Garden.
Patrick's going to come out here with a Hinterland Harbor, and now we're going to see a Tracker's Instincts, a card that we will bring up for you guys, a card that I think may become a little bit more popular moving forward. He does reveal a Huntmaster of the Fells, is it Staticaster, a Nightshade Peddler, and a Farseek. The rest of the card's going to go to the graveyard, Peddler to the hand.
So yeah, if Joe didn't know what was going on before, he certainly knows now.
Yeah, now he's, now he's thinking, all right, a bit of a mirror. I didn't think I'd really probably see very much of this, but we are going to see a mulch here from Joe.
I believe it's a Farseek.
Oh, that is a Farseek. I apologize. Thank you very much. So he's going to move his mana up. Going to get a Steam Vents, old school Steam Vents.
I can't believe we live in a time and a place where a Ravnica duel is considered to be old school.
Hey, that just means we're old. That's
sure.
all it means. So you see a Steam Vents there from Patrick as well. So, I mean, it'll be kind of interesting to see exactly, what kind of back and forth that goes on here. Also, it'll be interesting to see if Patrick knows what Joe is playing, because it's very clear that Joe knows what Patrick is playing now, or pretty close.
Yeah, I'm not really, did not expect to see the mirror here. I mean, not that this is a pure mirror. Joe's deck is a little, a slightly more combo version of this, but.
So we do see Joe take 2 from the Overgrown Tomb, and then does play Huntmaster to undo that. So we'll see our first real play of the game now. Something, get the board going.
There's another Steam Vent here for Patrick. Patrick also appears to have his Singleton Bonfire of the Damned in his hand, so he might be able to set up a sweep here. Just passes the turn back. Huntmaster flips.
No action. I'm almost. I mean, obviously can't play the Nightshade Peddler there. I don't think it makes a ton of sense, as we do see.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just cast Staticaster, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe he just wants to do it all in one turn, so he can get the effect.
But with Bonfire in hand, I would be, trying very hard to not allow the Huntmaster to flip.
Sure. So let's see what Joe's line of play is going to be here. He's just going to play Temple Garden and say go. We are going to see is it Staticaster on the instant, a card that is picking up in popularity for you guys. Most of you probably do know the combo there with Nightshade Peddler, but this is a card that is in my modern deck right now, making the mana horrific. Yeah. But I mean, this is a card that is extremely powerful. It's a card that picked up in popularity, almost mostly due to Jerry Thompson, and almost just splashing red in the blue-white flashlight just for this. As we do see Staticaster on the screen, we see the combo here with the Nightshade Peddler. And now we're going to see a shot here, but Joe
is going to respond with his own Staticaster and shoot down the Peddler.
Did you think we'd be seeing Staticaster Wars today?
No. I did not. Usually Staticaster is not good against other decks with Staticaster.
Yes.
That's why.
And what is so strange is we're going to see a Tracker's Instinct be flashed back here by Patrick is that Staticaster in its limited format, not even good.
Right.
It's not even a good card.
And now we're gonna flip the Huntmaster back now because Patrick played both the Staticaster and flashback the Tractor's Instinct. So, although that's actually arguably very good for Patrick, as now his bonfire cleans up everything.
Well, here's the issue. On the reverse side, though, now Joe flipped it back. It's Joe's turn. Maybe Joe doesn't even cast a spell here. Maybe Joe just goes, and attack.
Hit
whatever.
You for a bunch. And,
Flip my Huntmaster back, shoot your Staticaster for 2, then finish it off with my Staticaster. Your bonfire is still not very good now, unless you miracle it, of course.
Yeah, it just depends if bonfire is something that's on Joe's radar here.
Yeah. You do see also Patrick's life total going down relatively quickly here. He is at 8.
Yep.
It doesn't really feel like Joe's done a lot this game, but I mean, Huntmaster does provide six power by itself, and I mean, this is 2 more damage.
It's done quite a bit of work.
As we do see, Patrick is going to draw his card here. He draws a Farseek for the turn to go along with that bonfire that you spoke about, Patrick. There's also a Thragtusk hanging out there.
Yeah, but I mean, Joe's not even casting anything. He's still got a handful of action.
Yeah. We do see Thragtusk come on down, moving Patrick up to 11. We'll probably see Staticaster finish off the other Staticaster in just a moment here. And there it is. Now we're going to see Joe's reaching. Might be seeing a Grizzly Salvage here on the end step for you guys. A card that Martin Yuza called one of the top 5 commons in its limited format. In Return to Ravnica Limited.
Really?
Yeah.
I consider Golgari to be undraftable, so...
Well, I'm kind of in that camp as well, but I mean, Martin, a player who is much better than me.
Yeah, Martin's a master.
Yeah, Martin much better
fine.
than me. He's a very large fan of drafting Golgari. It's a very difficult deck to draft. It's something I've never figured out, and he said that this is the card that pulls it all together, and I'm willing to believe him.
Well, yeah, I believe the deck gets a lot of power out of this because it's the only way to make your scavenge cards very reliable, but, yeah.
Grizzly Salvage does move a couple Faithless Lootings to the graveyard along with a Woodland Cemetery, and it moves over the Peddler to Joe's hand, so he does have the combo, basically. And we do see another Staticaster. He's fooling forward as well, considering if he wants to play 2 spells to flip that Huntmaster back.
To re-rotate.
And we will see that. So Huntmaster's going to come on back. Joe's going to move up to 24. And we're going to see another Wolf token in play here.
That Huntmaster has done a considerable amount of work this game.
It's been a little while since I've seen Huntmaster be this good, honestly.
Yeah.
And we all know, this was a card that really did define its block constructed format, in the green mirrors. But with how things have shaped up in Standard, it really hasn't really dominated the way it had previously.
Yeah.
So you see Joe taking a look here. What do you think about this humans reanimator deck, Patrick?
I think it's quite powerful. And I think in the sideboard ways, if it has ways to de-emphasize how much it leans on its graveyard, then they could pretty easily mitigate the rest in peace of the world.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this deck is very solid. I think it's poor against most decks that are just attacking you super fast, but in matchups that are at all slow, I think this deck's generally favored.
Okay. It doesn't have the grindy elements of, we've seen reanimator decks in the past having Angel of Serenity and starting that loop. Lingering Souls and, one-shotting people with Craterhoof Behemoth. It's taking a different approach, but I mean, this approach, the decks that this deck is good against, I feel like it's great against. It would probably almost never lose.
Right. So there's the Peddler. We're assuming we're going to be bonding up with one of our pingers.
Tag team. Back again. So now we're going to see an attack here.
So the reason that Joe is setting it up this way is because he doesn't want to ping the Thragtusk before combat because the beast can still eat up the Huntmaster.
Yep.
So he wants to do is send everything first, then shoot down the Thragtusk that blocks whatever to avoid Joe losing one of his creatures in combat.
Good play by Joe there.
Yep. A lot of people would just have gone to shoot, and that's incorrect.
So now we are going to see, as we see Angel of Glory, we're going to see a Grizzly Salvage Numero Dos, revealing a Cavern of Souls, a Rootbound Crag, a Gold Knight Commander, another Rootbound Crag, and it is a Static Caster. And you see Patrick reading the Gold Knight Commander, so we will bring it up for you guys. It is how, Patrick, you one-shot someone in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, you get a bunch of comes into play triggers when you have a big reanimation off of Angels of Glory's Rise, and yeah, you can just end the game in exactly one shot.
Limited All-Star and Avacyn Restored.
Actually,
Heck of a card.
I did not do an Avacyn Restored draft, so I can't.
You did it right.
Oh, okay.
Somehow, some way, you did it right. So you're going to see a Faithless Looting here from Joe as well. Really just getting through his deck now, seeing a lot of cards. One of the nice things about this deck as well is, you know, it is a reanimation deck as well, but I do like that this reanimation deck, as you said, can just play normal Magic.
Yeah,
as it's doing right now.
Right, I thought the initial versions of this deck, you know, we saw a lot of, you know, Angel of Serenity, Thragtusk, Unburial Right control decks, sort of in week 1 of the standard format. And those decks, in my opinion, were just non-functional when it wasn't casting an early and a burial, right? Yeah. The evolution of this deck is into a place where, yeah, it can play normal Magic and still have a lot of the same explosive combo reanimator draws that the initial decks could have as well. So the progress of this deck makes a lot of sense to me.
As we see Patrick hard cast that Bonfire that's been waiting there for a little while. It's taking care, it's cleaning up everything but those Izzet Static Casters. And we are going to see, it looks like that Beast Token come across, but what we know is that there is an Angel of Serenity in Joe's hand, ready to bring everything right on back as long as he has 7 lands. He draws an Unburial Rights.
I have to assume that's good here too.
I like to believe it's probably okay.
Yeah.
So we see a green, we are going to see a white, and we are going to see something you'll probably appreciate.
We're gonna go
an old school mulch.
We're gonna go mulching.
Angel, mulch, Static Caster, Huntmaster, all to the bin.
Joseph Valdez.
Mill ourselves for 4.
To the registration stage. Joseph Valdez, your draft is waiting for you.
Joe's going to take a look at his graveyard, check his humans, see what he's got working over there. We do know he has a Faithless Looting in the graveyard to flashback as well, so he can get that Unburial Rights into the graveyard since he doesn't have the land for it to hardcast it right now.
Yeah.
And luckily for Joe, he's not really underneath much pressure either. He's at 19.
He's got a lot of time, and Patrick's hand also is just not that aggressive. There's a Deathrite Shaman that he can't cast.
Yeah, it's a little bit late to the party here.
Another Thragtusk, which is, you know, meaningful, but still got some time.
You see Patrick tapping some mana. He's going to Farseek. Get a land out of here. You just see him thumbing through some of his cards in his deck there. But ultimately, I think once Joe does get to untap here, we're going to see Gold Knight Commander and all those human friends come back with Angel of Serenity.
And I believe Patrick will be hard-pressed to survive.
There's options. I think we're going to see a Tracker's Instinct here. Yes, we are.
Sure.
Pretty good for Joe, too, because, you know, Joe on his side of the table is thinking, okay, I pretty much got this win locked up. By casting Tracker's Instinct, I get some information. That being a key one.
Yes.
As you see Rakdos return the 4th card there. Peddler goes to Patrick's hand, but Joe otherwise probably wouldn't have seen that Rakdos return. I mean, if I'm Joe, I wouldn't even consider playing around Rakdos return from this deck. And now he kind of has that information.
That's
now.
a huge bit of information there.
Now we do see Joe tap 5 mana. We are going to see Unburial Rights. He's going to target the Angel of Serenity. And while there are no zombies in play to take care of, Angel of Serenity is going to bring back all the humans.
Oh, you mean Glory's Rise?
Angel of Glory's Rise. Thank you. I apologize. Angel of Glory's Rise, bringing back all of the humans.
So,
couple triggers here.
Some triggers.
Trigger there. Huntmaster here. All 4 Static Casters there.
So it's a human soup.
That's what I would call it. And after all of these triggers resolve, and we have 3 Huntmaster triggers, a bunch of Gold Knight Commander triggers, Peddler, Soul Bond, all of that stuff, we are going to see a relatively large attack here as Joe is showing, okay, here I come for actual infinite.
Yep.
8 sideways. And Joe moving up a game.
Some
with
Static Caster beatdowns.
That's right. Ever heard of it? 0-3 coming in.
That was a weird game. That was a really weird game.
It's a little bit strange. I mean, how these two decks function. It really is weird. I mean, with the combo, obviously, a powerful combo when it goes, you know, when it was not interacted with. Excuse me, but it was kind of a weird game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just exactly how it ended up playing out. But the Gold Knight Commander and then one copy in Joe's deck list for a reason ends up getting it done.
Right. So onto our sideboard here. Patrick, like Corey Burkhart, I believe, also had 2 copies of Snapcaster Mage in the sideboard, which it's like, yeah, when I want to make my deck better, I put in Snapcaster Mage. I don't really know what I guess he has more spells in the sideboard. He has 2 copies of Tragic Slip, 3 Slaughter Games, and 3 Appetite for Brains. I assume that Slaughter Games is very good here.
Yes.
And the deck actually generates enough mana where Slaughter Games and Snapcaster Mage are reasonable to actually pair with one another. You can get to a spot where you're actually flashing it back. I don't know if he wants Appetite for Brains. Certainly Joe's deck has no shortage of expensive cards, but a lot of them are also reanimation targets or flashback spells of their own. So I don't think you really want Appetite here, but I think Slaughter Games and Snapcaster Mage could potentially be very good.
Now, taking a look, and one thing that we do notice in Patrick's sideboard is that not a lot of graveyard hate.
Oh no.
I don't think any.
I mean, most of the good graveyard hate, unless someone is sideboarding Tormod's Crypt, and that's a card that's almost certainly too narrow for most people to have.
Sure.
Most of the good anti-graveyard cards rather are white. I mean, Purify the Grave and Rest in Peace are the 2 premier cards in that slot. Yep. So Joe's got to feel a little more comfortable about having his graveyard matter more because Patrick is all colors but white.
And there, of course, there are 4 copies of Deathrite Shamans in Patrick's deck, but I think it's relatively easy for Joe to kind of overwhelm that card.
Yes.
You know, it's just a very slow graveyard effect. Taking a look at Joe's deck list here, 3 copies of Purify Grave in the sideboard, not so much here. 1 copy of Pillar of Flame. I think he can believe that there's a Deathrite Shaman there, so maybe you do see him board in that 1 copy. 3 Rolling Tembler. You know, it's that Pyroclast that doesn't hit flyers, but doesn't seem to be especially great here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, obviously, I think this goes without saying, I have not played much of the Mirror.
Sure. I don't think many of us have.
I am. What I'm really curious about is Peddler Staticaster something you're supposed to be leaning on and trying to set up, or is it just too hard or too easy to go over the top of, where those are the first cards to get cut?
Sure.
Because I feel like those cards are paired with one another, and so if that pairing is actually good in the matchup, then that constrains a lot of the other ways that you're going to sideboard. If that's the first set of cards to hit the bench, then you have a lot more flexibility about how you set your deck up. And I just actually do not know the answer to that question.
Nor do I, oddly enough. Maybe we'll find out the answer.
My instinct is that it's bad because, like, the other guy has Staticaster, just gets broken up, and then you have these peddlers you can't draw. Like, particularly if I'm in Patrick's situation of having Huntmaster and Deathrite Shaman and Peddler, I'm actually kind of exposed to Staticaster. You know, the first one you can kind of mitigate. The second one actually starts becoming very good.
Yeah, like a huge issue.
The same is not true on the other side. Joe's deck is powerful enough and has enough large threats that he can sort of, what he's doing is something more powerful. He doesn't have to play the board in the same way.
Sure.
And so he doesn't have to be as concerned with Staticaster. But Patrick actually has to worry about it. It's a thing that can happen even if he's not on Peddler's Staticaster himself. He's got a lot of 2 toughness creatures. Not a lot of ways to pull out of 2 Statcasters. It doesn't have a lot of removal, you know?
Yeah. Looking here also, there's the last couple cards in Joe's sideboard. 3 Geist Honored Monk. We were talking about what kind of hedges does he have against people who do have Rest in Peace, Purify the Grave. That's the kind of card that probably fills that role.
Yeah.
3 copies of Zealous Conscript seems like another card that kind of fills that role. Also just a unique effect. And a card that a lot of people just don't really play around. And then 2 Cathedral Sanctifiers, a little bit of help against maybe your aggressive deck, your mono red that won last week, and your zombies deck comes back with Angel of Glorious Rise. So
sure.
That fills that out. But again, I don't really see a lot of cards here in Joe's sideboard that really are just like cards that really swing the matchup. I don't see anything here that's just like, this has got to come in. I need to really bring this in. I think that Joe, after seeing what he saw from Patrick's deck, he can just say, I'm going to stick my normal game plan, just try to overwhelm him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it if I was Joe. I mean, Patrick didn't show white mana, so you're not concerned about the good graveyard hate. He didn't really show any aggression. He showed very little in terms of raw power. He just, really only the Bonfire and the Rakdos Returns are the cards you saw where you're like, oh, I could be winning the game, and then this card could make me lose all of a sudden. You know, those were really the only things. So if I was Joe, I'd be pretty happy to present something very close to the same 60 I had for game 1.
I can't really see much change. I mean, this is the kind of deck that's more of like an engine type deck. You know, you just want to do the same thing every single game, and you know, if you board out some of those cards, like Faithless Looting, like, you know, Mulch or Grizzly Salvage, you kind of break up your engine a little bit, and he just wants to do the same thing every game. And then if, you know, if someone has something dramatic, then, you know, then maybe you change what you're doing, as we do see Appetite for Brains, the card you brought up, here from Patrick.
So
Joe's going to fan it out. Does he have anything to hit? Uh-oh.
And I've seen this dynamic a lot on camera in the last couple of months watching the standard format. Your deck is, you know, it's at a certain place in terms of, you know, power and speed, and you can either go underneath of decks or go way over the top of them.
Yep.
The one thing you definitely don't want to be in a matchup is a deck that's slightly less powerful, but slightly faster. That's about the worst place you can be, and I feel like Patrick is unfortunately in that spot in this matchup.
That's the exact same way I feel too. I really do. They're trying to accomplish basically the exact same thing, and it feels like Joe's deck is just better at doing it than Patrick's is.
Like, I would probably want to be in Patrick's deck instead of Joe's if I was playing against, say, Mono Red. Or Zombies. But in similar decks, I'd rather have something that's a little bit slower and a little bit more powerful.
So we're going to see Cliff Chopper Shriek here from Joe. Joe is going to start up with a Faithless Looting.
Looks at Farseek, and
there's a white card. May have been another copy of Purify the Grave. Don't quite know for sure. Okay, yep, that is a Purify the Grave in his hand. He has one of those, along with that Farseek that you said. I think both Purifies are going away. Yes, they are.
So, Joe with now a little bit of insurance against any graveyard action. We know that, you know, Snapcaster Mage could be a thing here.
So we see a Hinterland Harbor from Patrick, and he's just passing. We do see a Static Caster in his hand. Now here's an interesting question. Slaughter Games, the card that we brought up in the sideboard.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, you know, Slaughter Games is an interesting card because it's very situation dependent on what you name. If you're Patrick, which you are, you're just not that Patrick.
Right.
What card do you want to name with Slaughter Games here? Do you want to name Burial Rites? Do you want to name Angel? Do you want to name Static Caster? Do you want to name Peddler?
I think that, assuming that I'm not particularly exposed to a given card, like what's the card I'm most worried about, you know, with not that much knowledge about the hand or what I'm really concerned about, I think a Burial Rites is probably the first thing that I name.
Okay.
Because I think Patrick has a shot at playing he can actually go toe for toe in a lot of places. A Burial Rites is really the thing that distorts the matchup, in my opinion, because there's just too much speed and too much power. And Patrick doesn't have a lot of ways of fighting that card. So that would be if I was in Patrick's position, the first card I would name, unless there was something really specific I was worried about.
As we do see a Huntmaster of the Fells there from Patrick, buffering his life total a little bit, giving him Wolf, giving him some action on the board, start attacking Joe's life total, start making Joe have to, you know, consider moving a little bit faster, because right now he's just, you know, getting his engine online unmolested. As we do see Cavernous Souls. We'll have confirmation on the name of that for you guys, and it is human, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, and Joe with Peddler Staticaster in hand, but not willing to commit it to the board just yet. Which is pretty awesome, because it appears that Patrick himself has Staticaster Peddler in hand, although he's missing. Oh no, he has Hinterland Harper. He does. He actually has. He's got it all.
Now, what's interesting about like this combo of Izzet Staticaster and Nightshade Peddler is that, you know, let's say one player has the combo online. All it takes is one Staticaster to break it up, because that takes care of the other. It takes care of the Peddler. So it's kind of weird that, you know, this 2-card combo that takes place to gun down creatures is so easy for people to break up with just actually one card. So if you're in that mirror type situation, it's not incredibly difficult to stop that from coming online.
Right. And it appears both players feel like it's where they want to be in the matchup. They want to keep that combo in the deck.
Yeah, I think you probably
makes sense.
You probably want to have access to it, right?
Yeah, I buy it.
As we do see Joe resolving his Farseek here, Patrick shuffling up that deck.
It's a little bit more complicated than that. I definitely understand if I'm Joe, because Joe just wants to play a defensive game. Patrick can actually have the combo set up and still lose, because Joe can go over the top of it.
Yeah.
So it's a little more dubious. I think Probably still worth having if you're in Patrick's spot, but it's not. I think it's much better in Joe's deck than it is in Patrick's post board.
We do see Huntmaster and the token come across. Patrick passing back without playing a spell, threatening to flip, but we do know Joe does have that Izzet Static Caster in his hand, the 3 mana available to cast it. He also does have Grizzly Salvage too, so we'll see what he chooses. I'm just going to Static Caster. Making sure Huntmaster doesn't flip just yet, and he does draw Nightshade Peddler.
Oh, it's actually awesome to have backup here, because if he plays the Peddler, tries to kill something, then he has I guess the Static Caster still breaks up because Joe has to tap the Static Caster.
Yep.
So he still has to be careful here. I mean, do we pair and just say go and not try to shoot anything right away?
I mean, that's reasonable. Maybe
it's
he's
super risky to just try to shoot down the Huntmaster,
yeah,
right?
definitely. I mean, maybe you just start the turn. Can he? Yeah, he has the mana to Grizzly Salvage. Maybe you start the turn with Grizzly Salvage and get all your information.
Sure.
Get as much information as you can before you make a move. It's really hard to say. He has Faithless Looting. He's going to start there.
Okay.
That's where he's going to start.
Yeah. Joe simply too disciplined to try to just stick his Peddler and shoot down the Huntmaster.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you're Joe right now, and this is something that we saw in the back end of Game 1 off of that Tracker's Instincts, maybe it doesn't make much sense for Patrick to leave in Rakdos Return. But he saw it, and it's something for him to think about. And, the longer he kind of builds and waits and gets his hand set up, he's holding on to these 2 Nightshade Peddlers and stuff like that, his hand could just be gone.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that card has to be hugely concerning.
As we are going to see Nightshade Peddler here from Joe. And
I mean, I think we just pair up and say go.
now he said no pair.
Oh.
He plays it. And it looks like we're going to see a no pair here. Okay. Interesting. All right,
maybe we tried to pair?
I think maybe he put Soulbound on the stack.
Sure.
And he said, do you have any responses? I think that's probably what happened there. The other thing that's kind of humorous here as well is that, let's say, Joe right now was to slam down like a land and another Nightshade Peddler pair up, shoot the Static Caster, kills his own.
Yeah.
So, that's just kind of a neat interaction there as well. If you've never played the deck or never played the mirror, something to be wary of.
Yeah, in R&D's attempt to mitigate Lingering Souls, there's a lot of weird interactions.
Yeah,
now.
you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. As we do see Joe takes 2 and moves down to 12. See if he's gonna play that Nightshade Peddler or is he just gonna hold up Grizzly Salvage? All right, there's a Peddler. Facebook relationship has changed.
I feel like we're supposed to just shoot the Huntmaster here, because Joe just needs time.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, is there a reason to do it now? I mean, there's definitely a reason to do it now. Never mind.
Yeah.
There's definitely a reason to do it right now. Take care of that.
Yeah.
And he does choose to do that. Taking a look at Patrick's hand, you do see a Thragtusk, you do see a Bonfire of the Damned, and you do see a Nightshade Peddler. So, I mean, he's doing just fine for himself.
He's ahead by a healthy amount in this game.
He's going to draw a card, checks for Bonfire. It is another Appetite for Brains. And we're going to see Bonfire of the Damned now. Bonfire of the Damned
for 2, and then presumably finish off the Static Caster.
Yep. Pew! Attack first. And now finish him off.
I think I would have rather just Thragtusk and shot down the Peddler this turn.
Think so?
I think so. You got to try to close this game out pretty quickly. I mean, your clock's slowed down pretty considerably now. If Joe can answer the Wolf or just do something just generally powerful.
We're going to see a Grizzly Salvage here revealing Farseek, Nightshade Peddler, Huntmaster of the Fells, Faithless Looting, and Unburial Rites.
Yeah,
that's kind of the fear.
Right?
You're talking
yes.
about.
That was
Unburial Rites being the big one there. Now there's no Angel of Glory's Rise yet, but I mean it's not hard to find.
No.
And he's been given what I feel is just enough time now because he is at 8 to be able to get there. He's got about 2 turns now.
But he's got multiple Faithless Looting still in the graveyard.
Yep.
I mean he's not out of fuel.
You are going to see Joe cast a Huntmaster of the Fells here. And so next turn, because he does have 8 mana, he can cast Faithless he can flashback Faithless Looting, find an Angel, and then flashback Unburial Rites to do it. He has enough mana for that.
Yeah.
As we see a Rootbound Crack here drawn for Patrick. Puts that right into play. You are going to see the Peddler pairing up.
And now we're still set back. We're set back yet another turn.
Yep.
In getting that Thragtusk into play.
The Wolves trade. Obviously, Huntmaster being in the graveyard is, you know, it's the second place Joe would want it.
Right.
You know, if it's not in play, I want it in the bin. I don't want it in my hand.
And I wasn't. Yeah. Because you still got to trade the Wolf tokens off. This makes the sequencing even worse for Patrick the way the game's playing out.
Yep. We do see Faithless Looting here.
Because now he's just got
Joe.
those cards in play and no pressure.
Yeah.
And he's kind of at Joe's mercy here. Like, he could find a sweep, he could go over the top with something. He's actually just found Zealous Conscript, so he actually conscript the Staticaster and shoot the Peddler down.
Yeah. As he discards a Geist Honored Monk. Was one of the cards he discarded there, so he did board those in. He's going to take the Staticaster, shoot the Peddler, get in for 3.
And it might be too late for this Thragtusk to have a meaningful impact in the game now.
Yep. So now Patrick draws this card. He draws a Woodland Cemetery. You know, that card's about as blank as the Appetite for Brains in his hand.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I do believe we needed to deploy this sooner.
Now Joe's going to untap here. Going to draw his card.
So I guess we're going to loot again, probably, to start this turn off.
That's what it looks like to me. And it is going to be a Faithless Looting flashback here for Joe. Draws a couple cards.
Looks like a land and a Grizzly Salvage.
It doesn't look like too much action here. Probably content to just sit there with the conscripts. Can't really see much of a reason to attack.
Yeah, he definitely needs to defend himself here.
Yeah. 10 is a pretty healthy life total, but I agree with you. Just play a little bit of defense. Bonfire would be lethal, but it's not there.
Well, he's only got the Singleton Bonfire, none on the board. So
Okay.
Joe isn't aware of this, but he's actually in the clear.
Okay.
Not sure what's being communicated right now.
We're just clearing some things up, making sure our game state's okay. We will radio down to our spotter, make sure everything is A-okay before these players do continue playing for you guys. If you are just joining us, we are in America's finest city, San Diego. SCG Live, Patrick Sullivan, Cedric Phillips. Do appreciate you guys tuning in and watching as we do see Appetite for Brains here from Patrick, revealing Grizzly Salvage. You guys can join the conversation at SCG Live. You can hashtag SCGSD. We are in round 3 of 9.
Yes.
Not too long of a tournament today. I know last week was 10 in Columbus with those 700 players, but we've got just a little bit under 400 in attendance here this weekend. So it should be a good tournament as we do see a Grizzly Salvage here from Joe Lossett.
Oh boy.
There's the whammy.
Oh my goodness.
As you see, Joe does reveal the trump card in Angel of Glory's Rise. You see Patrick taking a look at the graveyard, and Patrick, we know, for those of you guys just tuning in, there are multiple Huntmaster of the Fells, Geist Honor Monks, Zealous Conscripts, Nightshade Peddler.
There's no
is Ecstatic Caster.
There's no end of good stuff.
There is no end of good stuff down there. You are right, and that's how this deck works.
Yep.
It brings back that Angel of Glory's Rise, and when it does, it ends the game on the spot.
You don't want to be the deck that's just a little bit slower.
And assuming that Joe does have 2 white mana, and I do see at least 1, I do see 2 Temple Gardens.
A little bit faster rather.
Yeah. And there it is. Drops the Bombshell, resolving the trigger. He did not forget the trigger.
So I'll get all this stuff, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, that'll do.
A little bit of that. Couple triggers here, couple triggers there.
I mean, this is not. I don't believe this is a combo kill turn because there's no. What's it called?
No Gold Knight Commander.
Yeah, no Gold Knight Commander. Sorry, but there's definitely a bunch of stuff.
This is more of your value reanimate here.
And Joe's still with Unburial Rites in the graveyard.
Yeah.
If Patrick has some way of getting out of this.
Not to mention that Garcia Monk is going to put in 2 spirit tokens and be gigantic.
Yes.
So that certainly doesn't hurt. And as long as he stacks his triggers properly, the static caster that Patrick has put into play actually won't be able to take care of those 2 spirit tokens. It will be able to take care of 4 Nightshade Peddlers, which isn't so bad. But Joe is going to do some stacking here with the Huntmaster, the Garcia Monk, the conscripts, everything here to make sure that things break in his favor.
So, static caster takes out all the peddlers. But we're still going to be triggering. I assume that Zealous Conscripts is targeting the beast token, I would assume.
Huntmaster happens. As you see the wolf token, you see the spirit tokens there. We'll see exactly what Zealous Conscripts does opt to take. It doesn't look like anything yet.
Oh, we gave haste to the guys
to the Garcia Monk. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Forcing a block from this gigantic creature. Good play by Joe there.
Yep.
One that we missed. The beast is going to jump in front there, and not quite sure. I do know you have Patrick's deck list in front of you. I'm not quite sure what gets him out of this because, as you said, there's only 1 bonfire of the damned. It's already gone.
And even if he had bonfire here, we would just unburial right the angel right back.
Yeah, and we'd be in the same spot. So we see Patrick draws his card for the turn. He draws a Farseek to go along with that Woodland Cemetery that he is thumbing back and forth.
And all that Farseek really does is prevent that Huntmaster from flipping.
Yeah.
Not really. The mana doesn't matter anything at this point.
So I think he's going to come to the same conclusion that you guys are probably drawing at home here, which is Joe Lossett likely going to be moving on to 3-0.
There's a concession.
Joe Lossett, Star City Games. He's had a lot of success on the circuit, not so much in Standard, more so in Legacy.
Overwhelmingly in Legacy,
yeah,
yes.
but he is doing just fine so far. 3-0 with his Human Reanimator deck for you guys. And I know, Patrick, that Ruben did some quick questions with him, and we'll probably have a deck tech with him today as well.
Oh, yeah, I was unaware.
Yeah. Probably going to have a deck tech with Joe as well. So congratulations to Joe moving on to 3-0. Pedal to the metal, as good as the deck name as it is, moving it down to 2-1 for Patrick Garcia.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it doesn't actually even matter, you know, over the course of Magic's history if you're talking about beatdown mirrors, control mirrors, combo mirrors.